Hello everybody, welcome to the Redmen TV and your uncensored match build-up show ahead of Liverpool taking on Sunderland at Anfield tomorrow night at time of recording at 8:15 p.m. 8:15 p.m. That is late. As a man who goes to bed around that time, most normal nights, that is a late old kick-off that. But yeah, we'll power through it. Welcome, Luke. Ben, thanks for joining me. Massively appreciated. I'm going to speak to these guys in just a moment. But before I do, you may or may not be aware here, we are sponsored by Oosh all season long, so thanks to them for allowing us to do what we do for a living. And also, we do have our prize draw, so we'll get that out of the way early doors. So every single legend, whether it be yearly or monthly, who subscribe to Redmen Plus as a legend is in this draw. They're on this wheel, and they might just win a ho Hugo Ekitike jumper, which I do not have to hand, so I cannot show you. But it's on Redmen merch. It's beautiful. Go and check it out if you haven't done already. So when I press this wheel, the wheel will spin. If the lads want to do a drum roll, and then the name will come up. Thank you very much. Jim Nugg.
Hey.
Your guess is as good as mine, everybody. But Jim Nugg is our winner. Congratulations to you. My esteemed colleague Steve Hall will be whisking an email to you in the next few days, and then you will get a jumper in the post. So congratulations, my friend. They are boss, so do go and check them out on Redmen merch. Right, on to the match, ladies and gentlemen. Lads, first off, how are we? You good?
Yeah, good. Well, happy? Happy we were at the weekend. Still carrying the happiness around.
Yeah, there's a weight lifted off some Liverpool shoulders, I think it's fair to say, around these parts, and indeed across the entire of the globe. But yeah, on to the match. And we'll talk about Sunderland in more detail, but just to get our general sort of mood heading into this one, Ben, I'll come to you on it first, because the win, of course, was nice at the weekend. The performance coupled was also quite pleasant as well, but it counts for little without a win here, because I had a quick look before we went live. A back-to-back win for the Reds would be the first time we've done that in the Premier League since September, when we beat Burnley and Everton. It's December now, so it's probably about time we put down a proper run. We've had a couple of false dawns in sort of the interim period, but this is it now. You just got to win this, because like I say, there is no momentum if you don't.
Yeah, he's got to take the pressure off himself as in the manager now, and obviously the players as well. If we lose, it's back to square one, and people are obviously starting to talk again. We've just got to win, really, hasn't it? You know what I mean?
Especially at Anfield as well, Luke, because Ben, you brought a stat in as well. Sunderland haven't won at Anfield since 1983. So Arne Slot he had a bit of a nasty habit a few weeks ago of sort of breaking all kinds of unwanted records. He won't want this to be another one. It is at Anfield, it is under lights. We'll speak in more detail about the Reds and how he might line up and stuff. But on the face of it, newly promoted team, albeit one that's flying, it is must win.
It is must win, but I'm also slightly worried that we might lower ourselves to a false sense of security at that win against West Ham at the weekend, because West Ham were really, really bad. Really bad. If we didn't win that game, I would have been worried. So this is definitely going to be much more of a test. Sunderland are really going to put the hard yards in against us, but like you said, we've had that false dawn already with the Real Madrid and the Aston Villa, and thinking, right, we're all right, we've turned the corner, and we hadn't. Now we really need to start turning this corner, because sooner or later it's going to get absolutely crucial to be a part of Liverpool season, really. We can't afford to miss out on the top four, otherwise we'll be in a lot of financial trouble.
No, 100%, yeah, and that's certainly probably the lens with which FSG will be looking at some of these decisions and the conversations that might have been had in the corridors of Anfield and beyond. But he's certainly kept the wolves from the door with a win at the weekend, and hopefully he can continue to do so with another win here. We'll quickly have a 5-10 minute chat on Sunderland, because I mentioned a moment ago, they're not your normal newly promoted side. In recent years in particular, they've been cannon fodder basically, and they've been going down as quickly as they came up. But wow, Ben, these are possibly the story of the season thus far. Currently sat in 6th, which again is remarkable regardless of what season you're talking about when it comes to newly promoted sides. But the recent history of them is they're terrible. Sunderland are anything but terrible. They are a proper outfit.
Definitely, and I mean, if you look at the squad, man for man, you got players like Mukelele, who was only a few years ago, he's playing for PSG, as one of the best right backs in the world. You got Gertrude, who obviously Slot managed at Feyenoord, who was amazing for them. Look at the team, man for man. You got, obviously, say Xhaka as well. They've got an amazing team there with amazing, solid core of footballers who are all leaders, who want to win games, who want to win trophies. And they're going to be a serious test for us, I think.
Yeah, they certainly are. And I think the way they play actually will be probably what tests us most of all, because it's the polar opposite to what we like facing Luke. And as they illustrated at the weekend, Sunderland, like, one thing they've got in abundance is spirit, and they don't know when they're beaten, which counts for a lot, I think, in this league this year.
Yeah, most definitely. I think sort of at home, as we've seen against Arsenal, like, they can really get behind the side there, don't they? The stadium, like, that's definitely going to get them a few points. What I find most interesting about them is sort of they've really gone gung-ho on the recruitment.
Yeah.
And a lot of times recently that hasn't worked for newly promoted sides, but they seem to have got it right. And I think the addition of Granit Xhaka, what you're touching on there, he is the man who's been the leader and broken up a fella who was, he played a lot for Arsenal and ultimately got a lot of sticks. He wasn't a great footballer. But if you're talking about an experienced player who's going to keep level heads, he's probably going to be it. So he's really brought them all together. And yeah, the fly. I think they've, away from home, I think they've got a pretty decent record, haven't they, as well? Yeah. I mean, they've got a win away at Chelsea, haven't they? So they're looking okay. Yeah,
it's interesting because obviously the stadium is a fortress, and that's certainly what they've made it, and that will sort of centre around their chances of staying up, albeit you could argue they're already up with what they've managed to do thus far, and they haven't got to accrue that many points yet. But you're right, even on the road, they're probably looking at most games on the road as a bit of a free hit, because they know they're going to pick up points at home the way they're playing. This is absolutely free hit territory for them, and you're right to mention some of the lads you mentioned there, Granit Xhaka in particular, because he has brought that experience and that leadership, because they went out and spent a lot of money. They had to, because they had a very young squad they brought up. But to bring in the likes of Xhaka, who's been there, seen it, done it, no matter what you think of him at Arsenal, is a stroke of genius, actually. And I think the other point, Ben, before we come on to some of their players and where the threats might be, is I think they lose 9 players in a few weeks' time for AFCON. So they haven't got much longer left with the crop that they currently own. Therefore, the next few matches are going to be pivotal for them, because whilst, again, their main objective would have been, finish outside the bottom 3, and they may well have already gone a long way to doing that. If they've got any sort of ambitions of a top half finish or even Europe, they're going to have to pick up some points kind of now, because it's going to get tougher and tougher as the fixtures come thick and fast, and again they start losing key players.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a really good opportunity for them, because they're paying us at maybe not the best time, because we've obviously got to win, so we've got a bit of confidence about us. But for them, it's probably the best time to play us. We're still on that verge. If something starts to go wrong against us, maybe fans might turn or players might turn. I think for Sunderland, it's, as I say, it's probably not the best time. You know what I mean? What I'm saying. They've got City on the weekend.
Yeah.
So it's a difficult period for them, and then after that they got Newcastle, so obviously they're going to put all their eggs in the basket to beat them. So it could really, it could really, they could either really benefit from it, where they come in just like, well, we've got a free hit, as we said before, or it could be they've got one eye on the weekend where they've got to rest players, and obviously with AFCON.
Yeah, potentially. I just think they'll be in the camp of, let's just go gung-ho and pick up as many points as those 3 games you mentioned there. In reality, they're 3 really difficult games on paper, but you wouldn't back against Sunderland picking up some points from them. We've just got to guard against it being us. But yeah, in terms of the threats, Isidore is probably the main goal threat. Luke, he's got 4. Enzo Lefebvre, lovely little player, big fan of his. He's sort of the playmaker. But again, the man at the heart of everything is Granit Xhaka. And again, what they've got is they've got the thing that Liverpool don't really like. They've got physicality. They won't stop putting it on you. They are going to be a proper test.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see if they alter the game plan or if they go with the way they've been playing. Yeah. Sort of like, if they're going to sort of sit behind the ball, or if they're going to be physical. Because if I was them, I'd go and be physical. That's exactly what you struggle with. We talk about players over the recent weeks, like sort of jumping out of the way of tackles and stuff like that. Like, you really are going to have to get stuck in and roll the sleeves up. Yeah. And we're probably not going to like it, to be honest. You know what I mean? So, yeah, essentially, if they come and play the way they have been playing, they're going to cause real issues. And Liverpool, essentially, we need to band together and sort of put in that sort of performance we did against West Ham, where we will put a challenge in. Maybe we don't overcommit going forward. And it's strange saying that, because at Anfield you're thinking, right, we're just going to turn up and we're going to roll them, but that really hasn't been the case recently. And maybe it's time to sort of take that away game plan we've seen at West Ham and put in sort of, right, well, maybe we will play Joe Gomez here. Maybe we'll, say, hang back a bit. Let's not overcommit on the overlap or the inverting runs, and let's sort of hold deep and just try and get 1 or 2 in front.
Exactly, because you're right, because Liverpool, by and large, when we're at home, just expect that teams will come, sit deep, and not really try and lay a glove on us. But that has been disproven in recent weeks, because we're back-to-back heavy defeats at Anfield. So whilst we want it to be a fortress, it's anything but right now. And Sunderland will know that. They'll come. they'll sense a little bit of weakness, they'll sense some vulnerabilities there, and they will try to exploit them. So yeah, we're going to have to be not shirking anything, I think it's fair to say, which we've done a lot recently.
Do you know something that is funny though? I found out like before, obviously this podcast, they're actually a smaller team than us. And that's something we haven't faced a lot this season. Now, they are quite physical.
So like average height across the ball. Yeah.
And they're also, like, on the stats, they're actually really weak in aerial duels.
Really, yeah.
Defensively. Defensively and attacking, it seems. Which you wouldn't really think because they're very physical. You'd think of Sunderland being a very physical side. So that might benefit us because...
I think it's more the hard yards.
I think it's the running and the intensity obviously do it. And the fact they do it from minute 1 to minute 90, from what I've seen, I've watched a handful of their games, including the weekend. And I know they were coming from 2-0 down, so they had no choice but to go and go. But they really went and went, you know what I mean? So I think they've got that about them. And what they have got as well, because what you're talking about there might well be, it's clearly true in terms of stats, but it might be sort of the starting 11. But when they turn to the bench, you mentioned Gertrude before, Brian Bobby. Now, he might not be 6'6", but what he is, he's a powerhouse. So they've got physical options to bring on. And they might even turn to them, not just because of the fixture list and the relentless nature of that, but also the fact that we don't cope very well with these types of players sometimes. So it may well be a choice that he makes there. But yeah, I think we're all anticipating a proper test, but hopefully one we can get through. Right, I've got a question for both of you, and indeed those at home watching live. Ready for this? So I always do a trivia question. Not sure if it's a thing that's continued, but I certainly do. We haven't played Sunderland since the 16-17 season. We drew 2-2 at the Stadium of Light in January, but before that, we played them in November in Anfield. So, what was the score and who scored? I know, it's hard. 16-17, we won 2-0 at Anfield. Who scored and what was the score? Okay, you should know it wasn't 0-0 because I've said who scored. Feel free to bombard the chat with the answers and we will come back in a minute or two and tell you what's going on.
Ho, 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 Merry Christmas. It is that time of year once again. What time of year? Well, it is the great Red Men Plus Advent giveaway time of year. If you head over to redmenplus.com and join or renew or continue to be a Red Men Legend tier subscriber, your name is going in the hat in daily draws in every day up to and including Christmas Day. We've got a range of incredible Liverpool goodies to give away, from pin badges and festive jumpers and books, so many books. We've also got signed football shirts as well. We've got a Champions League final shirt signed by Vladimir Smicer. We've got a Redmen t-shirt signed by Stuart Downing. We have got, for some reason, a 16-17 home shirt signed by Joe Cole and Peter Crouch. Crazy, no idea why, but it can be yours when you join up. And then, of course, we have got the coup de grace. We have got this replica Liverpool shirt signed by Kenny Dalglish and by Bruce Grobbelaar as well. Two men pivotal to Liverpool's European Cup success in Rome in '84, and that can be yours. That is being drawn on Christmas Day. So yes, every single day in December, get yourself in with a chance of picking up a Boss Liverpool themed goodie to add some extra festive spice this Christmas period. Yes, head to redmenplus.com, sign up as a Legend tier subscriber, and you will be in the draws.
Hello, welcome back to the Redmen TV and your uncensored match build-up ahead of Liverpool taking on Sunderland. Before the break, I asked the two esteemed gentlemen to my left and you guys at home who scored and what was the score when Liverpool last played Sunderland at Anfield, which came in November 2016. Luke, I think I'm right in saying you have zero idea.
I've got no idea. I've slept many times since 16,
Thankfully,
17.
you've slept many times.
I'll have a guess, though.
Yeah, why not?
I'm just going to put it out there. I'm going to say the way that season went, I'll go with Mane and Wijnaldum were the two new signings that year. So I'll just have a guess and just say they scored and maybe we won the game.
No, we did win the game. We did win the game. I'll give you that. And none of those goal scorers scored. Ben?
I think it was Origi first, and then I know it was a late one, but I'm not sure about who scored the late goal.
Well,
to be honest,
let me just quickly check the chat, make sure nobody's got it. Somebody said I think there was a last-minute goal, which is correct, and you are also correct.
I know it.
Go on.
Milner penalty.
James Milner penalty, correct. That was the last minute goal. Divock Origi scored in the 75th minute to make it 1-0. So we left it like David Moyes was Sunderland manager on the night. Football genius that he is. And there's somebody else pointing out in the chat, which jogged my memory actually. It was indeed when the walkout over the £77 ticket prices happened.
Yeah,
it was that match. So well done to you for remembering that. But yeah, the Reds won 2-0. And yeah, Divock Origi, Lord Divock Origi and James Milner on the score sheet. Dare I ask?
No, that can't be like that. Because I swear that ticket price one, we drew, didn't we? Was that? No.
No. Dare I ask, when we did draw with Sunderland a few months later at Stadium of Light, that was 2-2. Any recollection of who might have scored on that night? Anyone at all? Ragnar Klavan started, I'll tell you that for free. The goal scorers, I just put you out your misery. Who were the two you mentioned a minute ago?
What, Mane and Wijnaldum?
No, okay. Wijnaldum started, but it was Sadio Mane and Daniel Sturridge scored with a Dejan Lovren assist.
When I think of that stadium, I always just think of Lazar Markovic. Like, his one brilliant performance for us.
And that one brilliant nearly goal that he scored that time. What might have been with Lazar Markovic? The dream we were sold for Lazar Markovic.
Is he still playing or? Because I heard someone say he retired at like 27 or something. Really?
I think he was playing in the Champions League qualifiers last year for someone. Someone mad.
Well,
yeah,
so
I remember.
Anyway, he was like at Fulham, wasn't it? Seems to have recalled for a little bit. Anyway, by the by. Anyone knows the whereabouts of Lazar Markovic, feel free to let us know. Right, okay, let's move on to the Reds. Right, Arne Slot held his press conference a little over an hour ago. Now, in terms of team news, he confirmed no Conor Bradley, trained yesterday, but then literally followed that by saying, don't get your hopes up, because he's not expected to be involved at all tomorrow night, I don't think. More potentially in the squad on Saturday when we face Leeds, of course. Likewise, Jamie Frimpong, he's expected to return next week. So yeah, not likely to be involved either of them two. Nothing said on Kirkes, so I assume he's fine, having been forced off on the weekend, so that's good. And he did also make mention of Florian Wirtz, Alexander Isak and Joe Gomez, but genuinely just said they're not able to play 90 minutes, but we kind of already knew that. So there's the news. In goal, Alisson Becker, obviously. That's an absolute no-brainer. Centre-backs, Luke. Is this also a no-brainer?
Yeah, I think it's no-brainer. It's just Ibu Konate and Virgil van Dijk, isn't it? Who else are we going to put there?
Not much any option.
Yeah, I know.
Well, no, but if you did something different at right-back, that opened up the possibility of Joe Gomez. But are we not... We just going Joe Gomez at right-back?
Joe Gomez has to play right-back. The fella has to play at
Has to play right-back?
I agree, but it depends if he's got the fitness, doesn't it?
If he's able.
Yeah.
He's
able
plays
to,
right-back.
innit, but...
What I would say is...
If he's able, we talk about the hard fella. He's a pensioner, don't we? Like, is he able?
Well, unfortunately, like his reputation goes before him when it comes to his fitness and his injury availability. Like he hadn't played a minute of footy for quite some time last week, and he still wasn't available because he had an injection in his knee. So he's just as likely to pick up something in training as he is playing back-to-back matches. So I think whilst you've got him, and whilst he's clearly informed because he was exceptional the weekend, you play him. Yeah, okay. Joe Gomez at right back, and you could kind of kick the can down the road a little bit with the right back thing, because if Conor Bradley is suddenly in contention for Leeds, that's good news. Okay. So, Joe Gomez right back, Ibu, Virgil, left back. I mentioned a moment ago, Kirk is likely to be available. Thought he had his best game in Liverpool shirt, Ben, at the weekend. Therefore, does he start this one?
For me, I'd still start Robertson at this point, because it's one game, but of the past few games, I don't think he's been at a good enough level to really be warranting a start. So for me, I'd go Robertson personally.
If I'm picking a team, I'd probably pick Andy Robertson as well. I'm probably there, a little bit of squad rotation. However, I do think Arne Slot will pick Milos Kerkez, as the fella never makes any changes. No,
if he can help it,
right back.
If he can help it, he wants to pick a settled side, doesn't he? Ultimately, which I kind of get, because I think any manager would, and it served him well last season, of course. But yeah, 3 games in a week. Kirkes going off a cramp at the weekend. Yeah, I'd be tempted by Robbo. But then, do you want Robbo in what would be a more hostile, potentially testing atmosphere at Ellen Road?
I think that could be a good point, because if we look back at Burnley and sort of that early yellow and Kirkes coming off quite early, like it was getting to him a bit there, wasn't it? So I think Robbo, more of a level head at Ellen Road, probably would be the better option. Yeah,
I tend to agree with that. Okay, so we're going exactly the same back 5 as Sunday then. A lot of people, I'm sure, in the chat will be in agreement with that. Feel free to throw your team in. There's been a couple of people already said just go with the same thing. So yeah, we'll expand on that in due course. Let's do the midfield, and I know we had a slightly tweak on a theme in terms of the weekend, in terms of how we did it, but let's pick a midfield three anyway. It's free from the four, isn't it? It's Gravenberch, McAllister, Szoboszlai, Jones. Is Jones at all in contention, Lou, for a start here?
I think the only way you put him in contention is towards the squad rotation points making in the minutes per 90, and just because 3 games in a week, that's the only argument I could see for him. That the fella, you know, he was poor when he come on at the weekend, to be honest. But when we spoke about this, we ran through on the final word, and we think he was probably just looking to get involved and try and get another goal, to be honest, and link up with Hugo, and the rest of the team were like, no, we probably just want to hold on here and win 1-0, and we end up getting the goal anyway. So I don't know if that was sort of maybe like a shift in tactical focus that he weren't quite adjusting to. But I wouldn't play him, to be totally honest. I'd probably go unchanged somewhat in as many places as I can. So I'd probably start Gravenberch. But to be fair, Macher first half, I thought it took a while for him to go into the game at West Ham. I don't think it was his greatest performance.
That would be the one, and I love Alexis McAllister. I adore him. But that would be the one position in that midfield that I think is somewhat up for grabs for this one, personally. And whilst there'd be a temptation to just go with the same 11 because we've seen a much improved performance and certainly a much improved result, you could also factor in the fixtures and how often we play, and maybe a bit of rotation might be necessary. And I think Curtis Jones would equip himself and handle himself quite well, actually, against that Sunderland midfield, Ben. So, yeah, I think Gravenberch and Szoboszlai are nailed on, personally. But I would imagine, and McAllister's had his own fitness issues, of course. It's taken him a long time to get up to speed. So, yeah, if there was a possibility for Curtis Jones to start this one, it's likely to be for McAllister. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think that's definitely fair. I think McAllister needs better management of his minutes as well, because, as we said, he's had fitness issues. I think it probably would be a good idea for this game to maybe just put Jones in his place. I think it's just better, obviously, rotation, such like that. And I also think there's a possibility that we need to get on the ball and get forwards. And maybe try and get some tempo going in the midfield. So I think Jones is probably, for me, he'd be my pick in the midfield for McAllister instead. Yeah,
I tend to agree with that as well. Listen, I would always start McAllister, generally speaking, but I think his form hasn't warranted that. And again, with this match and into Leeds and then so on and so forth, it is going to be thick and fast. And yeah, if we need to get Jones up to speed and sort of get McAllister a bit of a rest, this might be a chance to do it. So yeah, let's go with Gravenberch, Szoboszlai and
just
Jones.
An outside shout that won't be considered by the manager.
I know what you're going to say.
Why don't we play Wataru Endo? Why don't we play him? Sorry, that game on Sunday, that's like the perfect game for Wataru Endo to come on. Like, and he just doesn't play. Like, why would you not play Wataru Endo? I just don't understand. Like, he could do some minutes in the midfield tomorrow, definitely. And you just push Gravenberch further on.
You could. It's not going to happen.
I know, but he's just
pretty good.
He just frustrates me.
He exists and is registered as a footballer at the Liverpool Football Club. So in theory, yeah, there's a possibility.
I know, but it's just like he plays so many minutes for Japan on international team, and I know the standard's probably not amazing, but like a fella who goes away, starts for his national team all the time, and then he just doesn't play. Like,
he's captain, isn't he? What? Not that means he starts, because ultimately you've got to perform. Let's do a minute or so on that, because I think it's an interesting talking point, actually. Why? Is it a level thing? Let's just call a spade a spade. Is he good enough? Is he viewed only as somebody who's capable of playing Carabao Cup, probably FA Cup when that comes around as well? And if we need somebody to come on and kick some people for 10 minutes, on you go, because that's how it feels to me anyway.
Yeah, I think he's not playing. Listen, the fella's not great on the ball. Like, he isn't great, but the fella will press, he will run, he'll put a tackle in, he'll win you the ball back and just give it to people who are better than him. You know what I mean? And I just think sometimes you just need that.
We've needed it in abundance in recent weeks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And this is sort of the game where if it is going to be a fast-paced game and Sunderland are going to come and play as they have been playing and they're not going to adjust the game plan, some lad who's going to run his socks off and put a foot in, it's a great game for him to play.
Yeah, no, I agree. That is in the same mould, I would look at Curtis over McAllister right now for exactly the same reason as we just discussed, because I think, listen, he's not Wataru Endo in terms of like what you've just said there, in terms of the want and the desire to just run around and kick people and be busy. He's a much more cultured footballer than that. However, I do think he's got that on McAllister, and his comments, obviously, post-game PSV were ones of a player who knows what's required, and I think we need a little bit of that as well tomorrow night. So yeah, I'd be tempted. Somebody in the chat asked, anyone know how Calvin Ramsey is doing? Looked decent when he played. It was against Palace, the game you were referring to there. He's doing fine as far as I'm aware. I don't know how he is today. I haven't spoken to him, but yeah, he's fit and sort of available on the fringe, on the periphery. I just think if he was going to play, he'd have played by now. I know we've done the right back already, but I think that opportunity might have come and gone a little bit for him, Ben, because there was a game, I don't know which game it was, in the many games that we play, where we were completely stuck with right backs, and Szoboszlai played, and we went to Curtis Jones in the next one, and Calvin Ramsey was in theory available for them. He couldn't play the PSV one because he wasn't registered for the Champions League, which is a thing anyway. But it feels like if we were going to see him in the Premier League, we would have seen him by now.
Well, I don't think Slot's ever going to play him, to be honest. And I mean, he's never really... Has he ever played a Premier League game, Calvin Ramsey?
That is a great question.
And he couldn't get a game in league championship or like...
It was in League One, he went on loan, so he'd been on loans to Bolton, Wigan. He's had injury problems, Calvin. That's the first thing to say on him. Bad ones at that. And then he had a spell up at, I think it was Kilmarnock last year, on loan up in Scotland. And he wasn't injured, but he also wasn't playing, which set alarm bells off ringing. Comes back, obviously, in the summer. Looked okay for the 21s, but to the point from the comment a moment ago, I thought he was really good in that Crystal Palace game. And you do start to think, okay, natural, traditional right back, was bought all them years ago to be a Trent understudy. He clearly has talent, had played first team football up at Aberdeen, so on you go. But again, the fact he's been in a squad and not used, and we had a massive problem at right back, and he went to his best midfielder there instead. I just think it's
I think his opportunity's been and gone. I do think if he was eligible for the Champions League, I do think he would have played that PSV game.
Well, quite possibly.
Yeah, and I think that was would have been his opportunity, but I think now that's coming past.
Yeah, I agree, because I think we were speaking about maybe there's a chance there, but then the minute you find out it's not possible, you go, well, that's him then, isn't it, ultimately? And yeah, it's a shame. He might be one, and similar for Stefan Bajcetic in a different way. He might have to go and find first team football in January, because they're not kids anymore, those two. We talk about Endo. I maybe need an upgrade on him at some point in that position. I probably think we do. I think Endo's time at Liverpool might come to an end.
In what position, mate? The fourth seat on the bench?
It's a good point. But I actually think, to the point, and you're right, although it's like a flippant throwaway line, you are right. But I think if we had the ideal profile of player, I think we would have seen him by now. But I don't think Endo is that. That's why I think Arne Slot overlooks him all the time. I don't think Arne Slot thinks he's good enough, ultimately. And I think the same could be said for someone in the attacking line, which we'll come on to in a minute. So I don't think Arne Slot turns to him to start nor close many games because he don't think he's at the level required. The likes of Stefan Bajcetic just mentions isn't available, seemingly not around at all, so he's not an option either. James McConnell's out on loan. I think that sixth position, the proper deep-lying, defensive-minded midfielder, is something we'll have to do in the market at some point. But anyway, we went off piece there massively. Adam Wharton is the dream DN, but seeing his links for Ederson and Jan, yes please. Yeah, I think we need somebody else as Elliot Anderson. Yeah, what I'm trying to say is I think at some point we will enter the market for that six, but that's not going to be before we play Sunderland tomorrow, so let's deal with that first. We've got a midfield of, let's just recap, we've got Alisson in goal, obviously, Ibra Konate, Virgil van Dijk, we went with Joe Gomez, we went with Milos Kerkez in the end? Milos Kerkez. Okay, and a midfield three of Gravenberch, Szoboszlai and Curtis Jones, so one change thus far. Now we get interesting. People in the chat saying build a team around Florian Wirtz. I think we saw that at the weekend. The game was certainly built around Florian Wirtz. Luke, is that something we need to kind of stick to now? And is that how we go with this one? And therefore, what happens with a certain Mohamed Salah?
I think if you've made the call Sunday to not play Mo Salah, a fella, he's had his fair share of goals at London Stadium. I mean, let's be honest, against West Ham, he's had some good performances there. He's also had some ones where he's been pulled off and he's been absolutely fuming. However, I think if you're going to make that big call on Sunday, you've probably got to stick to your guns on Wednesday and do it again. I think, and play Mo Salah, the fella's a legend, you know what I mean? He's absolutely unbelievable, but the game, if Florian Wirtz is on the pitch, it has to be ran through Florian Wirtz, and we've seen that, especially in the first half of West Ham. The fella looked absolutely incredible, and it's because the game had to go through him and he had to progress the ball. So I think if you've made that call Sunday, to then sort of change it round and get Mo Salah back in the team again on Wednesday, even after a win, I reckon that's probably the wrong thing to do. I would probably ask him to sit this one and then maybe you play him at Leeds. Maybe.
Yeah.
Feel free.
I think your only issue is, did Slot say something about like maybe Wirtz wasn't fit enough?
No, what he said was, you're right to reference it, but he was told pre-game it was a risk to play him.
Yeah.
But it's actually quite an interesting thing to say, because therefore he's been told it's a risk gamble to play a lad, but he clearly felt it necessary to make a huge call. Because not only is he dropping Mo Salah, which is a big call in of itself, but he's playing a lad who is deemed by the sports scientist probably not fit enough to play the game in terms of starting anyway. But he felt enough pressure in terms of his job that he thought, I've just got to play him. Like, I bought this lad in, I've got Alexander Isak, I just need to play Florian Wirtz and just go through him. And it's worked. It might have ultimately saved his job. Who knows? We'll never know what might have happened. You know what I mean? But yeah, he isn't fit. He isn't fit. Like, he's not going to play. If he starts tomorrow, which I think he might, he's not going to play 90 minutes. So yeah, if we are talking about rotation and fitness around the squad, Florian Wirtz is not 100%. So if you want to make a call on him, then feel free.
I think the call there would be, how much stock does he put in that he'll be given time after beating beating West Ham in the last game? If he feels that he's not comfortable in the job, then he probably starts Wirtz, because he probably thinks, well, he's one of my best players, I've got to play him. But if he thinks, okay, I'm safe now for a few weeks, he probably starts Szoboszlai there, doesn't he?
I reckon dropping Wirtz also sends Wirtz like the wrong messages as a player. Like, if you had a great performance now, you've got something to build on. And he clearly doesn't care what the sports scientist says, because, like, or whoever the physio backroom staff are, because he felt enough risk to just go, bollocks to you, and I'm just going to play him anyway.
Yeah, so I think generally speaking, he would absolutely heed their word, and he would go with whatever they told him, because I think we've seen that during his Liverpool tenure thus far. But again, he felt obliged. He felt it was absolutely a necessity to start with Florian Wirtz and to not include Mo Salah. You mentioned there, Luke, in terms of a message and what it would send to Florian Wirtz. I'm in total agreement with you for what it's worth. I think he has to start this game of football. The flip side of that, of course, is all of a sudden you've gone from benching Mo Salah once, which we've seen in the past. You know, he hasn't started games of football before, and he's got previous for not being happy about it. We've seen it this season away at Frankfurt and stuff, but to do it twice is unheard of, more or less, in terms of big games. That just doesn't happen. So he addressed it this morning in terms of like Salah's response and his reaction. He spoke really well on it, actually. But I think if there's an issue there, and if you're risking upsetting Mo Salah, doing it twice, you are poking a bear at that point.
Yeah, I think you are. I think I spoke about it in the Final World yesterday. You can probably watch that if you've got Redman Plus.
If not, go and do it.
Yeah, and oh God. Sorry, I need to move that.
What is it?
I'm breaking. It's just my water bottle. It's just really big. It'll block me out.
Okay.
Anyway, I do think Mo Salah, he will have the right response to that sort of thing. You know, the fella's driven. He'll be dying to get back in the side. And when his opportunity comes to get back in, he will take it. You know what I mean? I can see him putting the ball in the back of the net. That's what he does. Mm-hmm. I don't think he's the one to sort of upset the change room because he's not playing. I can't see him being that sort of character. I don't think he'd be turning the players against Danny Slot. You know what I mean? But it's just one of that. And we know he's frustrated. We've seen it last season. When he does get frustrated, he does go to wild things like going to the media to Southampton away, something he never, ever does. However, I don't think it gets to that level because the fella, in my opinion, yes, he's a Liverpool legend. You know what I mean? He's one of the greatest ever players to play for the club. But if you're talking about this season, his performance so far, the last couple of games, he has not been great. No. You know, I think there's been an improvement, and I think the improvement is what with him was the first half of both the games we lost. I do think Liverpool looked really good, and it's because we sort of started playing the game through Mo Salah. We started playing the ball more, we started getting him on it more. Yep. However, I still think he was struggling to beat his man. And I don't think he was looking a little bit one-dimensional. He's not a one-dimensional player, whether he was just struggling for ideas, frustration, form. It's all sorts of building up, and I think the right thing to do for the team is not to play him. However, the knock-on effects of that they're hard to sort of put together. I don't think there'll be a huge knock-on effect, but I'm sure people will disagree with me in the chat. Like,
no,
it's a 50-50, isn't it? Like, you just don't know. We're not in the changing room, are we? Like,
well, it's uncharted territory to the point because this is unprecedented. Like, Mo Salah doesn't sit on the bench 2 games on the spin. Like, it just doesn't happen. I'm quickly sort of scanning through his Liverpool career to date, and there's no, up until this point, incident whereby he's been on the bench twice. Like, it just doesn't happen, you know what I mean? So you do risk upsetting him, and people might not care ultimately. I don't think he's the type to upset the change room or a bad mouth on a slot and try and get up. That's not his style. But in terms of his own professional and personal pride, he is the type. He takes care of number one, ultimately, is what I'm trying to say. I absolutely adore him, and I absolutely adore Liverpool Football Club, and his messaging around us has always been absolute perfection. I don't question his loyalty to us for one single second. However, he also knows how good he is, and he knows what he offers, and he knows what he's done, and he knows his importance to Liverpool Football Club still. And he'll believe that, as you said a moment ago, when he gets his next chance, he will respond to his critics, and he'll silence the doubters, etc. And I want to see that, actually. I just don't know whether we'll see it tomorrow. That's kind of where I'm at. But it's a really fascinating conundrum, and Arne might have complete control of it, and he might be so comfortable. He might have spoke to Mo Salah. Salah might be completely on board. He might have complete buy-in in terms of what he's doing and how he's doing it. And we've got a lot of games coming up. We know one thing, Ben, we discovered this morning, Arne Slot confirmed that he will leave for AFCON on the 15th of December, which is just 13 days away now. So Salah's going to be available tomorrow, obviously the weekend as well. And his final game for Liverpool this year will be Brighton. So he does only have a finite time left with Salah. I don't know whether that puts weight in the argument to start him more and to use him until he goes. I'm not quite sure. But this whole Salah thing, just to focus on him for a moment a little bit longer, is really interesting. And Slot seems to be, but also has to handle it really, really carefully. A little bit. You can't mollycoddle anyone. He's a superstar. But you've got to be kid gloves around this, because upset Salah and you've got a problem on your hands.
You've got a huge problem. He's a massive influence in the change in the team as well. For me, I wouldn't start him, but I think he will start him, to be honest. Because as I say, I think he will take Wirtz off and just give him... He'll bring him on, obviously, for a little bit, but I don't think he'll start tomorrow. I think Szoboszlai is more likely to go in, as I've said before, and I think Salah's likely to go on to the right. I also think if you're looking at it in a way of, I don't want to annoy him too much, and then it kicks off a big feud in the dressing room, I think you probably would start him. But for me, if you're trying to...
You got to worry. He's disappearing in a few weeks.
Yeah, it's just so interesting. The man management of this is fascinating to me. I love all this sort of stuff when it comes to handling squads and big personalities and superstars. And again, Arne Slot's done it impeccably well so far. I think it's fair to say this again is another level up because of the decade high spender, whatever, the lifetime high spender within the summer. Like, he's got all of a sudden loads more superstars on his hands that he's got to be really, really careful around. But yeah, I am so intrigued by what he does with Mo Salah tomorrow night, Luke. I really am.
If you sorry.
No, go on, you go.
If you're playing footy manager and you've got your best player there and you leave him out for a few weeks, then you're going to get like a knock on the door on Football Manager where he's having a go at you. Do you know what I mean?
That's the point I was going to make. If Mo Salah feels the point where he's felt he's needed to have a chat with the manager this week and he's got another chat with him, I do think Arne Slot will cave in and play him. Because if he's coming in and going to listen, mate, I'm the highest paid player here. I'm a club legend. I've scored so many goals. I need to be playing. What do I need to do to play? I do think Arne would have bottled it and gone, yeah, just put the hard yards in training, mate, and you'll be starting. I'm not going to lie to you, but if he's not gone about it that way, I don't see the point in changing the team. Like, I really don't.
Okay, interesting. I just sort of for completion's sake, I haven't found a single instance where Salah's been, and I have just literally scanned it as we were talking, where he's been on the bench consecutively. I don't think it's happened in his Liverpool career thus far. There was a moment in time, I think it was 2019, where he was on the bench, played the next game, then he was back on the bench. Not quite sure why that happened, but still, might be fitness related, maybe post AFCON it might have been. But yeah, by and large, he's either just started games or been left out of squads entirely. It's not often he's been on the bench and stayed on the bench at all, and certainly not
just
twice.
Before we finish this, just the tweak in the system now, we're playing Florian Wirtz in the front line.
Yeah,
I think that's really changed. I think Galatasaray, where we played Frimpong on the right wing, and I thought that was an insight into what was going to happen at AFCON. And then we quickly decided that Frimpong's really, really fast, but he's probably not the right wing that we need.
Yep.
And now we sort of brought Wirtz in. It's sort of like, this is the squad we're going to have now for like 4 or 5 weeks. I just think we need to bleed it in now.
Oh,
like,
I really do.
And it's so much like, Jeremy Frimpong is a cracking player and he's absolutely rapid, but he was not a right winger. Like, he wasn't great at Galatasaray.
One-dimensionally, he felt a little bit, this sounds really disrespectful, a bit one-trick pony.
Yeah.
But he can get to the byline, he can deliver across, and there's nothing wrong with that. But what else have you got, mate? A little bit. He's quicker than most, which is great. But I'm not sure what else comes with it. He's not a great finisher. He's not technically exceptional. He's not a great dribbler. He's not going to come inside a lot. He's just going to keep going around the outside of people and whipping balls in, which when you've got Isak in the middle, may well bear fruit. Yeah. Like, it might work. But yeah, I don't see much future in that personally. Ultimately, he's going to get fit and start playing football before we can have conversations about what position he's playing. But yeah, I think that the Florian Wirtz performance on the weekend, for me, makes him undroppable. And I would like to see us go with the same system again. I'm happy to go personnel-wise, Curtis Jones and McAllister, because I think that's quite plug and play and quite repeatable in terms of what we did. But Florian Wirtz, we can spend a couple of minutes, Ben, just chatting on him briefly, because my word, like I said it there, that does make him an absolute necessity, I think, in the team. Like, the way he played and the freedom of which he did it and the swagger he had, like, you can run a game through somebody that talented, that good, and somebody of that level, you can just say, okay, let's get the ball to him at any given opportunity and see what happens.
That was the Florian Wirtz we've been waiting for all summer, isn't it, really? I think it was said on the podcast yesterday about like we've been waiting all summer hearing this plan, but now it's actually arrived. We've actually seen the player we bought for like 125 million or whatever it was. Yeah, he's an incredible footballer who can just turn a game on its head and just get the ball and just find that pass. And yeah, I think, as I say, we all want him to start tomorrow, and I think if he does, then he'll be amazing. But as I say, you can't. It's the fitness. I don't want to bring that up again.
No, you're right. Also, and that will be a decision that might be taken out of Slot's hands. But as far as we're aware right now, he is fit and available. A couple of comments just on the Salah stuff. Somebody said, if we reverse in order to accommodate Moan, we lose, and Slot deserves the sack. You can't miss the whole team.
bit strong,
well,
bit strong.
People entitled to their opinion. He has to sit on the bench, and if he gets stroppy, then so be it. With Mo Salah, they play with 10 men. I think that is off the ball. We're focusing heavily on terms of what you can do in attack and just his general demeanour. But yeah, the off the ball stuff and the lack of defensive willingness is the wrong word, because he is willing.
I think I would support responsibility. Yeah,
is probably a better way of framing it. That Mo Salah provides is a problem, and if we are fearing Sunderland's intensity, work ethic, want and desire, then we're going to need every single hand on deck. And Salah maybe doesn't offer that either.
And especially when we're struggling a little bit this season, we need everyone to be on deck and really put the best in to help out, do you know what I mean? And you can't really afford passengers at that point.
No, we absolutely cannot. And again, I think we've all anticipated...
You say Mo Salah's a passenger, man?
I never said anything, mate.
Flip it. Didn't say anything.
Cut that out.
Right, so finally, we've spent a long time discussing who may or may not play there. We've gone with, I think, Luke, we're the majority here. We've gone with, this is Salah, Wirtz, Isak, Gakpo. Is there a conversation on Cody Gakpo? I mean, I know he scored and assisted, but people were still fuming with him at the weekend. Like, are we happy? Are we okay?
Yeah, I'm happy with Cody Gakpo. I think he's a good player. Everyone hates me as well when I say that opinion. Like, especially on the train home talking about it on Sunday night, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, he's rubbish." I'm like, but he's consistent. If you ask me, he's going to get the ball, he's going to cut in, and he's going to either find the pass or not pass the ball to Kirkes or get a shot off. And I just think as long as you can beat your man, which he can time and time again, I'm happy with that. You know what I mean? He creates opportunities.
A lot of people have a go at him saying like, all he does is just cut inside, but like that's what Iron Robin used to do, and he's very, very good at that.
Well,
obviously he had better other skills, but like he had a repeatable skill that he did constantly.
Yeah,
he was very good at
You're not wrong. He does do that, and Iron Robin did that. What I will say is the success rate with which they do it might be wildly different. I really like Cody Gakpo, and I don't agree with a lot of the criticism he comes in for. I think he gets a bit of a rough ride, actually. But yeah, I nearly made the Robin point yesterday, funnily enough, that you just put up there, but then I kind of stopped myself. I thought about it a little bit. When Robin scored like 9 times out of 10. Like, he was frightening at it. But you're right, he was a bit of a one-trick pony in that sense, but my word, was it effective. But I think the other thing with Gakpo is worth mentioning, Luke, is that I would start him anyway, again, because I think I like him. But options-wise, like, he's clearly not likely to start Chiesa. Yeah. And as much as we like and think Virunga is a talent, he's 17 years old, so it's just gonna be Cody Gakpo, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I think PSV could have made some wholesale changes, and that's really, I think, where we would have seen opportunities given. And if we weren't willing to give them, then I don't know why he'd be willing to give them off the opportunity, like off a win. Like, why would you then go right? Let's play Chiesa, let's play Rio, let's throw all these lads in here. All the crowd want to play, because we do. I want to see Chiesa play. I want to see Rio play a bit more.
Yeah.
However, it's just the wrong thing to do, isn't it? Let's be totally honest. Like, Chiesa, you could probably argue there's probably a strong argument there for Federico Chiesa to come on. He's a really talented footballer. The fella's top player of the tournament Euros. Like, he's a seasoned veteran in that regard, and he can come in and really kick on. However, he hasn't been given the opportunity already. Why is he going to give him it now after we've just won a game? Like, Cody
it's not going to happen, is it?
Feels unlikely. The only other one which we need to discuss briefly, and this is actually a really interesting conversation, to be honest, is Isak or Ekitike. Because, listen, I don't think Isak set the world alight by any stretch of imagination on the weekend, but what he did do is he opened his Premier League account for the Reds, which is good. So, do you double down on that confidence, positivity, and go on then, go again, go and repeat the trick? Or, Ekitike, as we know, is probably fitter than Isak right now, I think it's fair to say, and has been, a few weeks ago, the hot hand, the informed striker. yeah, it's a bit of a dilemma. It's a dilemma of our own making because we decided to go and spend a lot of money on 2 out-and-out proper number 9s. But it's a bit of a problem, this one, I think, Ben.
Yeah, definitely. For me, I'd start Isak. I think you need to, if we're going to do anything this season now, we need to get him on a run of form, scoring goals.
Yeah.
But I think he will probably start Ekitike, as I say, rotation again. You've got to think about like have we got Champions League next week as well? So it's a lot of games, 3 games a week.
And they're all winnable,
You've got to rotate.
aren't they? There is no, because to your point a minute ago, sorry, about like the chances and opportunities to make some of the fringe players more prominent in this side. They're just not there. You're looking at the FA Cup in early January potentially, and knowing us, we'll get Chelsea away, and that'll be that. Like, but realistically, they are few and far between because we've got ourselves into such a sticky position domestically and in Europe that we don't have a dead rubber anytime soon. Like, we've just got to keep winning. So, yeah, I think the big lads are going to keep playing. But Luke, who's the big lad up top for this one? Like, where'd you turn?
I think I'm probably sticking out with Alexander Isak. The fella scored a goal. What did he play? 65, 70, something like that, roughly. And I think you just want to continue building on them minutes. And then if you're in the point where his minutes sort of in terms of the week, what did he say? Roughly about 200 minutes a week, something like that. Then you can rotate him out at Leeds. Yeah. And possibly if Leeds are going to play a bit deeper, maybe you want to come a bit shorter.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, so I think I'd probably start with Alexander Isak and try and build on that form.
Yeah, and I'm sure Sunderland fans would love to see Alexander Isak. I'm sure we'll get a boss reception from them. Like, I can't see any issues there whatsoever. I think they'll absolutely, love to watch him in the flesh. Right, okay, we've got an 11, finally, I think, just about. We went with the same 11 from the weekend, barring Curtis Jones in for Lex McAllister, I think. But you want more rotation. Like a background in sports science or something that we're not telling us.
Did you watch us last year?
you think this could be?
It's an internship at Leicester.
Yeah, you think this could be opportunities to make a couple of...
I think it is. But as I say, it depends a lot on the confidence Slot has within himself to be like, well, I'm ballsy enough to think like, there's not, I'm not at risk here.
If he thinks that win is enough, then fair play to him. But I do not. I'm not with him on that at all. I think we've got a must win, and then must win, and then a must win, back to back to back, up until Christmas, and then we'll see where we are at Christmas a little bit.
But Slot's like, I think he's proven as a manager, especially this season, that he doesn't really listen to do you know what I mean? I mean, he did last week, but like usually he doesn't really
listen to the noise.
Yeah, he just sort of goes, well, I need to rotate, so that's it.
Well, he hasn't got social media. He told us that this morning. He was aware of some abuse he got. Post Man City, he said, actually, which is interesting, but he seemingly hasn't got social media. So if you're watching, Arno, which you won't be, hello. Right, other Premier League games, and I'm going to get your predictions. Start getting predictions in the chat. I'll get the lads in a moment. But around the Premier League, there's more or less a full schedule, I think, across tonight and tomorrow. Fulham playing Man City. Yeah. Bournemouth Everton is quite a decent game, I think, actually. Jekyll and Hyde Everton at the moment. Newcastle Spurs is also tonight at that dreaded 8:15 kickoff. Then tomorrow it's Brighton Aston Villa, Burnley Crystal Palace, Wolves Forest. My God, Wolves need to start winning games of football. Arsenal Brentford, Leeds Chelsea, which is a bit of a throwback classic. Us against Sunderland, obviously, and then Manchester United West Ham. So, yeah, there's games of football happening. They're not exactly blockbuster, are they? Some of them, like they're fine. Some of them. We can focus almost solely on the Reds, which is nice. Right, score predictions, Luke. How do you think it's going to go game-wise, and what's your prediction?
I would like a clean sheet. Let's build on the clean sheet work. Let's go 2 in a row. I think I'd just be happy with 2-0 again, to be honest. Like, I'd just be happy with any Liverpool win, to be totally honest. But I just really, really will want to build on this clean sheet because the defence need confidence, mate, and they really do. And I think having Alisson Becker behind them, I do think they play with a little bit more confidence. Yeah. Not that Mamardashvili's a bad keeper, it's just the trust that you can have in Alisson Becker to get you out of jail once or twice. It is always there. So I'd say 2-0 clean sheet, maybe Isak and Wirtz. I'd like to see Florian Wirtz get a goal on Anfield.
Yeah, same. Actually, yeah, I like that shout a lot. And I think actually, winning at Anfield is really important at this point. It's never not important, obviously, but you need a bit of a feel-good factor back at home because we've obviously lost that with what's happened in recent weeks. So yeah, I think it's pivotal, as you say, clean sheet, proper performance. We've kind of got the monkey off our back in terms of our overall form at the weekend, but doing it at Anfield would add another sense of positivity. Yeah, Ben?
Yeah, I'd say 2-0. I'd say pretty much the same as you in terms of the game state. I'd say Isak and we'll go for Salah to be controversial.
Off the bench.
Brace yourself for that celebration, ladies and gentlemen. Right, yeah, I'll say 3-1. I don't see us keeping that clean sheet. I'd love us to keep the clean sheet. I don't see it personally. But yeah, I think it'll be a relatively straightforward type 3-1. I don't know, maybe we go 2-0 up, we can see we have a mini wobble, but then we get the game done. I'll go Isak, as you both have as well. I'll go Gravenberch, something a little bit different. And I'll go with a set-piece goal, which is a rare commodity. I'll go Van Dijk. So, yeah, that'll be that. A couple of in the chat as well. I've had a 2-0 Isak with both, and we've had a 3-2 to the Reds. That 3-2 game, whilst exciting, I have little to no interest in watching it. So, yeah, no thanks. Cool, I think that's us. Yeah, boss, happy days. Thanks, lads.
So much
Appreciate it. Right. Do stick around on Redmen TV, full stop, because a deep dive later on today with Chris and Josh, which are never to be missed. And I will be back in this very studio tomorrow night with two people who I don't know who they are. Probably Steve and Errol, but I haven't checked. So come and find out with me as well tomorrow night. Watch a long time, Liverpool against Sunderland. I will see you there. Until then, enjoy the rest of your day. Take it easy. See you soon.